Story 1. For someone living a sedentary, non-active lifestyle, simply going for short, gentle walks several times per week can bring considerable health benefits and, for many, is more sustainable than trying to follow a heavy gym routine. I would go as far as saying that the slogan "no pain, no gain" has discouraged many people from doing anything, thinking you have to suffer to get any benefits. In real life, something referred to as base endurance training feels like a gentle, never-ending warm-up regardless of your fitness level. Your fitness only determines how fast you'll be going at that perceived level. And for many people nowadays, that pace is essentially just a walk. Doing it increases fat metabolism, muscle stamina, and the number of capillaries in the working muscles, improves the capacity to recover from any exercise, and lowers your resting heart rate and blood pressure. Story 2. You are not supposed to flush tampons or pads. There was a post a few years ago from a tattoo parlor employee who had to put up a sign stating not to flush them, or they would have to close the restrooms and make them employee only. People were mad at them for putting up the sign because that is how I was taught, even though it literally states everywhere on the packaging that they are not flushable. Story 3. The very basics of probability and statistics. It would help in so many areas, like how it would discourage gambling or make recognizing misleading studies so much easier. Story 4. A pickle and a bottle of water will hydrate you better than just a bottle of water. Similarly, if you have a fever and dehydration that doesn't seem to go away even if you're drinking a lot of water, try a pickle. If you feel weak and tired for no apparent reason, try a pickle. A pickle has more electrolytes and minerals than about 8 sports drinks. I have been doing this for years and it's never failed me. I'm not sick until I've had a pickle and am sick. Sincerely, a person with an autoimmune disease. Story 5. Basic car and truck maintenance. You do not need to know how to do an engine rebuild. Just know how to check and keep the fluids topped up, filters clean, replace wipers, and ensure there is sufficient air in the tires to keep it running well and save money. Bonus savings if you learn how to replace your vehicle's fluids and filters. Understand what noises are normal and what noises are not and require attention. Buy an engine code reader, onboard diagnostics 2, or vehicle diagnostics communications interface and learn how to use it. This way, you can know in 30 seconds why you have an engine light on and how serious the warning is, rather than spending the day without your vehicle and paying a diagnostic fee to learn that a 50-cent fuse needs a simple replacement. When buying a vehicle, make sure it has a second key. If it does not, factor that into what you offer for the vehicle. A replacement key often costs $400 to $700. When taking out-of-town trips, take your second key with you, just in case. Learn your maintenance schedule and the difference between manufacturer-required maintenance and optional dealer-added maintenance, often used to inflate the final bill. Replace your aged battery before it wears out and leaves you stranded somewhere. About half of roadside assistance calls are for flat batteries. They typically last 3 to 8 years, depending on battery quality, use, and your climate, but never the life of the vehicle. The more you know about your vehicle's operation, the cheaper, safer, and more reliable it is. Story 6. Saving energy and saving money are two very different things. There are lots of energy efficiency measures that only make sense at a commercial scale, and the average consumer will never see a return on investment. Story 7. Something that actually everybody learns eventually, but certainly something you do not know when you are younger. You are going to lose everything that you love, and if you do not lose it, it will lose you. Not much in life is certain, but this is guaranteed. Appreciate what you have while you have it. Do not assume anything will stick around, and learn to smile because it happened, not cry because it is gone. Story 8. Most people do not know that sleep plays a crucial role in memory consolidation and emotional regulation. During deep sleep, the brain processes and stores information from the day, strengthens memories, and regulates emotions, making adequate rest essential for cognitive function and mental well-being. Lack of sleep can impair decision-making, increase stress, and hinder learning. Story 9. There is a small bar or lever on a vehicle's steering column that can be used to indicate if you are going to turn left or right, for the vehicles around you to see. Story 10. Medicine is not magical. It contains components that address the issue you are experiencing. Therefore, it is unwise and dangerous to take medicine when you do not need it. Chemicals are not synonymous with everything harmful to you. Many non-harmful things are chemicals, including those you cannot live without. Basic cooking skills and spices. How animals are treated before they end up in packages. Story 11. Boys, please check your testicles, and girls, please check your breasts. If you haven't already, this is a small reminder. Story 12. If you haven't cooked fish in a while, and your house or apartment has a fish smell to it, you may have an electrical issue, including wires so hot they are melting the insulation. Source. Happened at my house earlier this year. Story 13. That saying no is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify, explain, or overthink it. Most of us are taught to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, or to overextend ourselves for others, but it's okay to prioritize your boundaries. Story 14. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation often breaks ribs. People do not wake up from cardiopulmonary resuscitation the way they do in film and television. The survival rates, even with timely cardiopulmonary resuscitation, are extremely low, roughly 9% according to the American Heart Association. For those in their 80s, it drops to roughly 2%. Survival and no permanent brain damage or damage to quality of life are not the same, and the vast majority of people who experience survival do not escape brain damage or debilitating injury that may be permanent. No one wants to lose their aged parents or grandparents, but it's really important for them and for you to have a realistic understanding of what full code do everything means and how it may keep them from ever going home, even if it saves their life. Story 15. The value of time, not just money. I grew up poor and I'm still lower middle class. When I need something, my first instinct is to try to find it at a thrift store, with the added advantage being that it's more environmentally friendly as well. It took me a long while to realize that often it's better to just order that $30 item than to spend hours trying to save $20 by trying to find it at a thrift store. The same goes for tools. You can waste hours trying to use the wrong tool instead of spending 10 or 20 bucks to buy the right tool. Story 16. Here's my auto tip. Keep a set of tools in your car. All your tools being on the shelf in your garage may as well be on the moon if you break down in the middle of nowhere. Story 17. I work in the gas industry, and there are quite a few safety things I constantly try to tell people that might not be common sense but are very important. Even if you don't have gas at your home, read these because if your friends or neighbors have gas and live nearby, it can impact you too. First off, if you don't know what gas smells like, it's a strong, rotten egg-like smell. It's very distinct and strong, which is the point of the odorant put in it. Now, let's talk about gas and fire or explosions. 1. If you smell gas in your house, do not open the windows, doors, vents, etc. to air it out. Gas can only ignite under the right air-to-gas ratio, and if there's too much or too little gas, nothing ignites. So if you smell it in your house, you might have too much gas in there for it to ignite, and if you open everything up, you may put it in that sweet spot and blow everything up. So if you smell gas, get out and get everyone else out too and call emergency services. If you smell gas in or around your house, and you have a garage, don't open or close it until you've talked to emergency services and have it checked out. A lot of garage doors spark when they open or close, which has led to many fires and explosions. One that really got me was someone smelled gas and had a big gas leak. They did everything right and got themselves, their family, and pets out of the house and called emergency services. The fire department got there first, and we told them not to go in the house and explicitly to not open windows, doors, or garages. They didn't listen, opened the garage door because it seemed more convenient to get emergency services in and out of the house, and ended up blowing up the house and killing several firefighters. How to spot gas leaks. Discoloration in gas, like any fluid, follows the path of least resistance. So if there's a leak in your line, you'll see it go through the soil to come to the surface. If you start seeing yellow patches in a spot, call and have it checked out. Bubbling, less common than discoloration, but if the pressure is high enough or soil loose enough, it will actually start bubbling and moving around. An interesting story of this is there was a guy who couldn't figure out why his grass kept dying. He kept calling various utilities he had, but they couldn't find an issue. He didn't have gas, but his neighbor across the road did. One day, the neighbor was running a bunch of stuff that needed gas and couldn't get the pressure he was supposed to have. The gas company came out, checked it out, but determined if it was a leak, it wasn't localized because they couldn't find any signs of one. They told him it had to be something else. This went on for 3 more trips out by the gas company, and finally, the third guy said, "Let me check around the neighborhood." It turned out the guy did have a leak on his line, but the path it followed was right into his neighbor's yard across the street. They fixed the leak, but there was so much gas built up that it would have been a pretty massive explosion if it went off. Lastly, don't mess with your meters or regulators. Depending on your state, you may have access to yours. There are so many various pressures, valve types, and vent types. Don't block them, don't mess with the valves, don't paint them, don't put boxes around them, etc. I know it may sound like common sense, but it happens constantly. You may be putting yourself or others in danger. Story 18. Basic medical knowledge like the Heimlich maneuver, especially for children, and how to properly perform CPR can be important. Not saying these things will save a life, but they can. I saved my son from choking on 3 separate occasions. Story 19. Maybe not most people, but there's an alarming number of people in the United States who refuse raises or promotions because they think they will lose money by going to a higher tax bracket. That's not how tax brackets work since they are marginal. That means only every subsequent dollar in a tax bracket is taxed at the higher tax rate. All other dollars are taxed at the lower bracket's rate. It's almost impossible to lose money from income taxes by accepting a raise or bonus. The only possibility is your income increasing over a certain threshold for some sort of government benefits, where you could be worse off by accepting. Story 20. For those of us privileged enough to make it to our 30s and 40s, most back pain, even the scary moments with slipped or herniated discs, can be addressed at home with simple stretches and exercises. If you're actively in pain, your muscles are in spasm, and there's not much you should do while in a lot of pain. However, what you should not do is remain completely stagnant or still for long periods of time. Yes, get the pain under control with some over-the-counter medication. Yes, be still while it hurts. But you'll find a lot of relief laying on your stomach with some pillows under your hips and stomach, relieving your back from supporting your entire body. There aren't many positions to lay in that can give you relief except for this when it's bad. Once you can do that, you can try laying on your back with feet elevated like you're sitting in an invisible chair and the wall is the floor. Gentle swaying from side to side within a comfortable range of motion. These 2 are the safer ways to get some relief from an actively spasming back. Once you're no longer spasming but still quite stiff and sore, you should be walking as much as you can tolerate. Trust in this one as it's counterintuitive, but the blood flow is so important for recovery. That means getting blood pumping through the affected area is going to help. But take it easy, you're not after the stair machine or flights of stairs yet. The more you're moving, the more it will get better. Once you're less sore, start by doing stretches for your glutes and hips. Your glutes are big, complex muscles that connect directly to your lower back and more. You need to start incorporating stretching those parts as often as you can tolerate, in addition to the lower back stretches. The best and most important glute stretch is something you can do right now sitting in a sturdy chair. Cross one leg over the other so your ankle sits on top of your knee. Gently push down on your knee, arch your back slightly, and try to touch your chest to your thighs, pulling yourself as close as is comfortable. You should feel this in your hips and glutes, and if you're very tight, it will be intense. Stop immediately if any stretch gives you numbness, tingling, pins and needles, or burning. You're okay if it's tugging, tightness, or muscle soreness. For anyone that's not very severely injured, this will bring some immediate relief. If you're so tight you can't even get your leg crossed, then this is not for you yet. But if you're able, there's really no limit to doing this. I try to do it at least once a day. 2 times is the goal. 3 if I'm super tight or sore. Instant relief. Also, bend at the waist and try to touch your toes, sitting if you're unstable. Touch your chin to yourself to deepen this stretch and include some back stretching. This stretch is for the hamstrings, which connect to the glutes, which connect to the lower back. Next, do it standing but only go 1/4 of the way down, then add a pelvic scoop. Pretend you have an ice cream scoop on your waist, and like there's a tub of ice cream between your legs that you want to scoop out and hold up in the air. You will feel this in your discs, and it is the most gloriously painful stretch you can ever do for disc pain. Hold the scoop at the top, then try to go further towards your toes. You won't be able to go far, but you don't need to. Every fraction forward deepens the stretch dramatically. Breathe while you do this because the intensity can sometimes make you see stars. You look silly doing it, but there is nothing to give you more instant relief. But you can pass out if you're holding your breath. Don't. Hold every stretch for at least 20 seconds and breathe. You see where I'm going with this? Starting at the site of pain, the lower back, and then gradually moving up and down the chain of command to lengthen and stretch the wound-up muscles surrounding the lower back is how to get longer-lasting relief. The next step is to strengthen your glutes, and bodyweight squats are helpful. But this is about getting out of spasm and finding some needed relief to prepare you to start exercising again. Walking is your friend at this stage, and even if it's tight and you have to go slow, still do it. Relief will come in baby steps at each stage after each stretch or exercise. I am not a medical professional, just a middle-aged weekend warrior with more friends and family the same age, and we all have been through this at some point in the last 2 to 3 years. It was my wife getting treatment and her telling me what worked for her when she got hurt that helped me roll out of bed and get moving when I threw my back out. Sneezing. I've been to many physical therapy sessions myself, and I'm a technical writer by trade, so I am really good at explaining complex things simply. If you're in debilitating pain, see the doctor, even the emergency room, because with back pain, if you can't move at all after a few days, it could be very serious, and doing any kind of movement can make it worse. But for slightly herniated discs and bulges, surgical intervention can cause as many problems as it solves. Get moving, listen to your body, and seek guidance. For those without means to see a doctor, my advice is how many minor back pain treatments start. It does help to take some pain medication before these things so you can worry less about spasm.